Right now, you reach for the salt. Without looking, without thinking. You did it yesterday, you'll do it tomorrow. Before you've even tasted the food, your hand just knows the move. It takes you less than 2 seconds. Most people assume salt has always been this small, this boring, just sitting there next to the pepper, completely ignored. That assumption is almost insulting to your ancestors, because for most of human history, salt wasn't boring at all. It was one of the rarest, most fought-over substances on the entire planet. People walked for days to find it. People died without it. Wars got fought over it. And your body still hasn't gotten the memo that the fight is over. There's a genuine alarm sitting inside your nervous system right now, built for a world that doesn't exist anymore. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why that alarm still goes off every single time your hand reaches for that shaker. But first, you need to see exactly how desperate that search used to be. Let's go back to before anyone had a shaker at all. Why your body screams for this. Here's the part most people skip right past. Salt isn't a flavor preference, it's survival equipment. Your heart uses sodium to fire every single beat. Your neurons use it to send signals. Without it, the fluid around your own cells starts to collapse. Blood pressure drops. Muscles stop responding properly. A human being can die from sodium loss in a matter of days, not weeks, days. So, your body built an alarm for this a long time ago. A craving sharp enough that you can feel it right now if you go long enough without any salt at all. Ancient humans felt that exact alarm, constantly. And for most of the last 300,000 years, they had no reliable way to answer it. No mines, no shakers, no little packets in a takeout bag. Just a landscape that hid sodium in places you had to already know about. A mineral spring here, a crusted white patch of earth there, the blood of an animal still warm right after a kill. That was it. That was the entire grocery store. And here's the first clue that this pressure was real, and it doesn't even come from a human sight. It comes from watching animals. Elephants in Kenya travel up to 40 kilometers out of their way just to reach mineral-rich caves where they use their own tusks to chip salt straight out of the rock. Deer will lick literal road salt off frozen pavement in winter, and gorillas in the Congo eat sodium-rich river clay specifically, on purpose, to top up what their normal diet is missing. None of that is an accident. That's the same alarm going off in a completely different species. Your ancestors were watching this too. They followed herds, they tracked migration routes, and the places animals kept returning to again and again, those became the places humans return to as well. Go where the animals go. Eat what tells them to go there. Let the landscape do the talking. For a strategy with no maps, no science, and no shaker, that actually worked for a long time. But it had one brutal flaw baked right into it. The clay that kept you alive. Salt deposits are not spread out evenly across the world. They cluster in specific pockets of geology, and they're almost completely absent everywhere else. And the region where a huge amount of early human evolution actually happened, the East African Rift Valley, was relatively poor in exactly this mineral. Anthropologist Timothy Johns at McGill University spent years studying this exact gap. His research suggests sodium scarcity wasn't some rare emergency for early humans. It was a constant, low-grade pressure, a body running slightly undersupplied almost all the time. So picture this. A small group, maybe 25 people, moving through what's now Ethiopia roughly 100,000 years ago. The rains have been poor. The game has moved on. They're following a dry riverbed north. One woman in the group has walked this exact route before. Twice in her life. She remembers a bend in the valley where the clay smells different, where the dried earth sometimes carries a faint white crust. They reach it. They scrape the ground with flat stones and bare fingers, and they eat the clay directly, straight from the ground. It's sharp, bitter, nothing like clean table salt, but their bodies respond almost instantly because that mineral signal registers somewhere far below conscious thought, somewhere older than language, and it feels like relief. They stay 2 days and then move on because the deposit isn't big and it isn't permanent. Find it, use it, move on. That was the entire rhythm of salt for most of human history. And when someone did find a good deposit, here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. It almost never stayed private. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy at UC Davis found that among foraging groups, rare, high-value finds like this got shared far more widely than ordinary food ever did, not because anyone was being generous for its own sake. A town built on white gold. It spread because the entire group's survival depended on sodium reaching everyone, not just whoever happened to find it first. That's how ancient salt sharing actually worked. Not trade, not ownership, just the same cooperative instinct that let a slow, clawless species survive at all. And it's still visible today, in the last places on Earth still living close to that original rhythm. The Hadza of Tanzania get most of their sodium straight from meat, eating the liver of a fresh kill almost immediately while it's still warm. Anthropologist Frank Marlowe at Cambridge University documented this for years and found their sodium intake stayed perfectly adequate, without a single shaker anywhere in sight. The Kung San of the Kalahari showed something even more precise. Anthropologist Richard Lee at the University of Toronto measured their natural sodium intake at roughly 690 milligrams a day. No added salt, just food. And that number, 690 milligrams, is almost exactly what modern cardiologists today consider the ideal daily amount for a healthy human heart. Your ancestors were hitting the target without even trying, because the food itself was already correct. Then agriculture showed up and quietly broke the whole system. But before that break happened, something even bigger happened first. Humans stopped waiting to find salt. They learned to make it. In 2011, archaeologist Olivier Weller of France's National Center for Research and Science excavated a site in northeastern Romania called Lunca. Ceramic pots, fire pits, structural remains, dating back roughly 8,000 years. People were boiling brine from a natural salt spring on purpose, over and over, to crystallize the sodium out. This wasn't an accident, it was a process. And here's the detail that genuinely stopped researchers cold. Lunca wasn't a civilization. No city, no writing, no government. Just early farmers, barely a generation removed from being nomads, already running something that left a clear, deliberate industrial footprint behind. And they weren't unique either. Around the same window, in what's now Bulgaria, a site called Provadia Solnitsa was doing something even bigger. People there had been boiling brine into salt since roughly 5500 BCE, and that operation grew so valuable it may have grown into one of the very first proto-cities anywhere in Europe. Stone walls, two-story homes, burial grounds with actual class differences visible in the grave goods, an entire town, arguably one of the oldest urban centers on the continent, built almost entirely around one mineral. They had absolutely no way of knowing what they were actually starting. As far as they knew, they were just boiling water to stop getting sick and weak. They had no idea they were laying down the first tracks of trade, currency, and the entire economic idea of a valuable commodity. The bill that never stopped coming. Then farming spread properly, and the real damage started. Wheat, barley, rice. Domesticated grain carries almost no sodium at all. Anthropologist Mark Nathan Cohen studied skeletons from before and after farming took over and found early farmers were consistently shorter, sicklier, and worse off than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. We traded wild, mineral-rich meat and organs for fields of grain. We invented agriculture and quietly created a sodium crisis on the exact same day. We then spent the next 8,000 years trying to fix a problem we'd built ourselves. Every Roman soldier was partly paid in it.
Every salt caravan crossing the Sahara was chasing it. The salt trade out of Timbuktu once traded slabs of it against gold, weight for weight on the same scale. Not because salt was fancy, because in a farming world, far from the sea, it could keep you alive, and gold simply could not. Governments taxed it. In France, that tax helped light the fuse on an actual revolution. Gandhi marched to the sea over it because it was never really about seasoning. It was about a colonial power taxing the only mineral a billion bodies genuinely required to function. Then, in the span of about 150 years, industrial mining made salt almost worthless. Today, a kilogram costs less than a coffee. The scarcity ended completely. But here's the part your body never got the update on. The craving didn't end with it. In 2011, Wolfgang Langhans at University of Veterinary Medicine, Hanover, found that sodium deficiency lights up the exact same reward pathway in your brain as addictive substances do. A real dopamine hit the moment sodium finally arrives. Your brain is still rewarding you for finding something it genuinely believes is rare. Nobody's told it yet that it isn't. So here's a real question, and I'd honestly love your answer. If your ancestors could see how much salt sits in your kitchen right now, completely ignored next to the pepper, what do you think they'd actually say? Tell me down in the comments. I actually read them. And if this changed how you'll look at that shaker tonight, tap like and subscribe before you go. Because the next time you salt your food without even thinking about it, you're not performing some modern little habit. You're running a 300,000-year-old alarm built for a search that ended a very long time ago. The search is over. Nobody ever told your body to stop looking.